Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Wade Watches. I'm Wade. Welcome to another quick. Uh, Technically, I'm home already, but still, nonetheless, a rather relatively fresh out of the movie theater review because I just got back from seeing the latest Paul Thomas Anderson film, One Battle After Another, in IMAX, and these are just going to be my quick thoughts. Honestly, I really don't have much to say about this one. Wasn't as deep or as profound as I thought it would be. I haven't, and mind you, I'm not too familiar with Paul Thomas Anderson's work, so I don't know if he's hailed as an auteur director because his the rest of his works are deeply profound, or if they just simply feature deeply troubled characters. But it seems to be a mix of both because I have seen There Will Be Blood. That's one of my all-time favorite movies. I absolutely love that film. Daniel Day-Lewis's performance is on another level. So again, it could be a mix of both because that movie definitely goes beneath the surface. But I feel like with One Battle After Another, which for the record I do want to rewatch because maybe there's something I'm missing. There's definitely some subtext there, but I do feel like overall I did kind of like leave it going like not as deep or as profound as I wanted it to be. Didn't work for me as much as I was hoping for it to, because it's definitely being hyped up now. It just came out. It's being hailed as a prestige picture. I'm sure people are gonna build Oscar chatter around it, all that good stuff, and that's just not the film that it was. That's just not the film that it was for me. That's not the film that I just saw. But to each his own. As I always say on this channel, if someone thinks it's a great work of cinema, more power to you. I'm not going to slander you for that. I just didn't really get that from this. I felt that yes, it does have a lot of relevant themes. It does tackle a lot of topical issues such as immigration, discrimination, all sorts of unfortunately very relevant things, deportation, that current situation. Like I already said, like racism and bigotry. That's definitely a part of this, but it doesn't really build the most compelling narrative around, in the world around all of these topical themes. You just see those themes with the story itself. Especially for a nearly 3 hour film, I was just kind of like, okay, I mean, cool. I felt that Leonardo DiCaprio surprisingly wasn't really given much to do in terms of a compelling character. He just kind of like, his character literally kind of like bumbled around a little bit too much for me. There is a reason for that. There is an explanation why he's acting the way he's acting for the majority of this movie, so I'll let it pass. But I would have liked to know more about this guy. Like, why is he a part of this? Why is he doing this? Why choose this particular lifestyle? And if you see the film, you'll know what I'm talking about, because revolution and revolutionaries, people who fight the resistance, that's a big theme in this. And whether that's ethical or unethical is kind of explored here, so there's that as well. And it's just like, why are you into this? And as a matter of fact, I would have liked to have gotten to know a bit more about all of the revolutionaries in this film, but you really don't. It's just like this kind of like manic narrative that just keeps like, it's the editing is kind of disorienting, and I think it was deliberate. It just keeps going and going and going until it's over. It's edited in that way, and I'm just like, wait, hold on, show me more, tell me more about these people, but it never really does. Now, I will say there are moments where that works perfectly, where that works beautifully, and that is, of course, when shit hits the fan, when we are getting a bit tense, when there is kind of an action sequence or a chase sequence. That editing works fine, and that does take up a majority of this movie. If you've seen the trailer, you know that there's a fugitive story here, so it works for the most part. Just like that chop manic feeling, that manic tone. I could see why they went with that, but the problem is that for a 3 hour movie, this never really slows down to tell you exactly who these characters are and why they're doing what they are doing. And I feel like for, if you're going to talk about freedom fighters and revolutionaries and people who say fuck you to the system and fuck you to, imperialism, and point the finger at, the American government and say you're imperialist pigs, let me see what's going on in their heads. Give me room to explore these characters. And one battle after another never really does that. It just keeps going on and on and on until we get to that, those final scenes of, and all that good stuff. Solid performances all around. Leo's always great. Regina Hall, excuse me, is great for like the two scenes that she's in. She just vanishes up and out of this movie. Sean Penn was really good in his the antagonistic role. And everyone is solid, but you just Benicio del Toro, can't forget him, really liked his character, but you just don't get to understand why these guys chose this lifestyle, what they're doing, and that's really disappointing because there's one character in particular where I'm like, hell yeah, do that, do that. You're doing you're doing a good thing. It's kick ass what you're doing, but why are you doing it? You know what I'm saying? So yeah, all in all, walking out of one battle after another, I'm just kind of like, not as good as There Will Be Blood, but I do want to check out PTA's other films. I've always wanted to watch Boogie Nights. I can't wait to find time to watch that one. So a bit disappointed, a bit underwhelmed, but I cannot say that I didn't enjoy this movie for just being this like just outright insane, manic, crazy, backshit crazy odyssey with quirky characters set in within against this contemporary topical backdrop, exploring some very very relevant themes. It was a wild ride from start to finish. Just wish we would have gotten to know everybody a little bit more, but I still did really, have a blast just on a pure enjoyment level with one battle after another. So wrapping it up, I will go ahead and give One Battle After Another a solid 8 out of 10. This has been another edition of Wade Watches. Have you seen One Battle After Another? What did you think of it? Please feel free to let me know in the comments below. Like and subscribe if you've seen more, and I'll catch you lovely movie lovers next time. Peace.